Good evening, viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth. And I am Pastor Forbes from Abiding Word Ministries. This is the week that's leading us to Palm Sunday, and of course 7 days after that would be Easter Day. And so it's an exciting week globally. It's also a week of purpose. It's a week of direction. It's a week culminating to the fulfillment of one segment and a very large segment of the ministry of the Lord Jesus Christ, not just for himself, but most importantly for my salvation and for your salvation, for my redemption and your redemption. So I know there's a lot that will be going on in our minds as we walk this path. One of the things that I'm interested in as I think about Palm Sunday and Easter, it's just all the things that can happen in somebody's mind when you are very close to the accomplishment of a goal. Maybe you have run a marathon and you're on the 26th lap, the bell has gone and you're like 200 meters to the end and you know you're about to win. I'm sure there's a surge of adrenaline, there's excitement, because there are many things that are going to happen. Sometimes it's when an examination is about to start or when it's about to end. You've done all your papers and you're taking your last paper. It could be the week before your wedding. It could be the week before you travel. It could be the week before your nomination is accepted and finally ratified. These times are very crucial times because we know what is going to happen. Sometimes, unfortunately, in the final part of our lives in death, we do not always know. But there is something about being able to accomplish your mission and having a sense of accomplishment because you walked a path towards it. And that's what we see in the Lord Jesus Christ. Next week, by God's grace, I will flesh this out because I think there's some key issues to look at when you are on the journey and in the direction of your destiny. There could be enhancers, there could be detractors, there can be some amount of lethargy, and you have to be helped sometimes depending on what it is. If you ask women who are pregnant just before they give birth, sometimes they just feel tired and they have to be helped and told push, because that final lap calls for all kinds of things. But we will get there next week by the grace of God. And let me just use this opportunity to say Happy Palm Sunday to everyone. There is a thought that's going on my mind, and it's something that we all, everybody listening to me, would obviously have had an experience, a good experience, and definitely, I'm sure, a bitter experience too. And I wonder whether when we have the bitter experience, we've taken time to analyze cause and effect. And I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about friendships tonight. I will not be able to finish everything in one segment, and maybe after Easter I'll pick it up again. But there are just so many things that are on my heart this morning. Number one, as we say in English, no man is an island. You cannot live by yourself. No woman is an island. You can't live all by yourself, to yourself. You need a friend. You need somebody to talk to. You need to see and hear something else to help you. Recently, I was somewhere, and somebody met me and said, Pastor Forbes, I've just been thinking about you. In fact, I was asking my children where I can find you, and God has made me meet you. And the person said to me, sometimes we need to talk to people. I rarely need to come to you for counseling because you need to talk to somebody from time to time just to hear someone else. Sometimes in life you even need to do it to assure yourself that you are okay in yourself. And life is like that. So you cannot live as an island no matter what you have. You could be the wealthiest person on the earth and the most miserable. You could also be the poorest person on planet Earth and be very miserable too. Because what makes your heart's content or contentedness is not necessarily things, as it's an environment. The Bible talks a lot about friends. As a matter of fact, one of the highest qualifications of relationship that we can come into with God is when we are called God's friend. Somebody sang a popular song called I am a friend of God. That means you've moved from not knowing God, a total sinner, and coming into God, a servant, and walking carefully because you don't know the roads, but then you come into what we call sonship, and then you come into friendship. And the Bible has a way it coins it. It calls us co-heirs, joint heirs. In other words, we are part of the family. We are family. It also addresses friendships in many, 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 many ways. And there are two in my thinking, and or three really, and they're from the book of Proverbs. In Proverbs chapter, I think 17, in verse 17, it says something like, a friend is there, but a brother is born for adversity. There's another place where it says that there is a friend that can stick closer than a brother. Of course, that means a sister too. There is also a place in chapter 18 of Proverbs where it says, a brother that is offended is harder to be won again. It's easier to take a city. When we look at friendships, all friendships start on the acquaintance level. You didn't know somebody, they didn't know you, but you met somehow. By design, by accident, you met in a conference, in a meeting. You went to the same school. You sat next to each other on a flight. Or your car had a breakdown and somebody stopped and helped you out. Or you were lost looking for directions to a house and somebody said something to you. Somebody opened the door, to the bank, and somebody helped you sort out financial problems. Friendships start in, more often than not, unexpected ways. And rarely, when we all look at our friendships, especially the good, the trusted friendships, we get amazed as to how it all started. Sometimes we don't even know. And of course, when we also look at some of the friendships we've had that we don't want again in our lives, we wonder, what were we doing to have such friendships? But in life, we learn from all kinds of situations because life itself is a school of learning. Friendships are in levels, and the levels are as many as you can find. I think friendships can be between 1 and 8 levels, and 8 will be the highest for me, and maybe you can say 1 to 4. Maybe it's easier to understand. There's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and maybe up to level 8. For friendships to thrive, for friendships to be a blessing, for friendships to be mutually beneficial to both parties, or all the parties for that matter, there must be some platforms upon which friendships are built. When I become your friend or you become my friend, I am assuming that we have crossed the acquaintance level, where we were just, hello, hi, how are you, hello, sir, hello, madam, hello, sister, in whatever language. It's just an acquaintance. It's almost like when you move into a new school or a work environment, or maybe even an accommodation, an area of residence, and you're walking home, or if you have a car or a motorbike, you're driving, you wave to people, it's you don't know them. 7 years down the line, maybe you are having house parties, your children, if you're married with kids, are playing in their home, and their children are playing, and your children are having sleepovers and just having a great time, and there's nothing you do without inviting them, there's nothing they do without inviting you, but you have become friends, and possibly close friends, good friends, tight friends, trusted friends. And these are all levels. But you started at the level of the acquaintance. Now, when two parties or more do not appreciate and understand that friendships are in levels, all kinds of hurts occur. I can give you two examples. One is that all friendships are built, and if they're really going to be true friendships, they are built on a simple word. It's a 5-letter word. It is spelled T-R-U-S-T. It's called trust. Now, when we start becoming friends, I don't know you. You don't know me. So trust is not yet in the equation. It is not yet a qualifying factor. We are acquaintances. Now, when somebody either misidentifies somebody's personality, this man is very quiet. He's actually a reserved, melancholic type of person. And maybe you are sanguine, red-blooded, hot-blooded, go-getter, proactive, people person. And for some reason, since it looks like opposites attract in some ways, you start chatting. Sometimes your zest, your effervescence, your excitement, you misdefine it as already being a friend of that person when they're really just your acquaintance. She is just trying to get to know you. He is just trying to get to know you. And let me say, this even happens in relationships. So whether they are same-sex friendships, ethical, upright, straight, moral, godly friendships, or whether they are cross-gender friendships, ethical, moral, upright, straight friendships, they all start. Even the person you call your husband today, your wife today, your fiancé that you're going to get married to, your trusted business partner, you sign checks together, the person that you can leave the keys to your house and car, and you're going on a 4-month vacation, you start at the level of acquaintance. And let's call that level 1. Now, if you don't understand that this person that you met 2 weeks ago, you are in level 1, you could be hurt. You could actually hurt them. They could also hurt you. You see that a lot in relationships. Maybe a gentleman takes a lady out for dinner or for lunch or maybe for breakfast, and they chat so well just because she's a chatty person. She's not really trying to make him feel bad, so she's really chatting. And there are people who are really widely traveled, widely read, exposed, and they've really been taught the etiquette of conversation, small talk, chatting, communication, and they are chatting, they're maintaining eye contact. And this guy thinks that he scored a goal. He's found a catch. Most times in our hurts in friendships, I'm no expert in this field, but I can safely say maybe 70 to 80% of those hurts are because of an unbalanced or understanding of the level of friendship. The second example I want to give, and that happens a lot in workplaces, particularly in our African setting. Why am I saying the African setting? Because, it seems as if anthropology and something else makes us a societal people. As Africans, we are always we. It's like when there's a problem in the classroom and the teacher says, do you all understand? If you don't understand, very few kids are going to say, teacher, I don't understand. Or like we used to say, excuse me, teacher, I don't understand. Most times it's like, we don't understand. Because we were not groomed, at least in those days, to stand to speak our mind by ourselves, stand in the crowd and say me. It's always we. It is how gossip thrives. Something can happen in a community, maybe a housing community, an office community, a religious setting, a family setting, and maybe there are 100 people there, and 2 people are talking. You know what you're going to hear? Somebody will come and tell you that the people are speaking, the people are saying. And if you are going to really be somebody who really likes to go down to the nitty-gritty, you'll find out that the people is two people. And so because of this societal group dynamic way of behaving, somebody goes to an office. So you walk in an office, you are a teacher, the school has like how many kids, and there may be 40 teachers, you have a large staff room, you chat, either you're in the same department, you know, a student did something, the teacher brings it to the staff room, people laugh about it, somebody is selling food, olele or whatever, you know, you're in the office, they're bringing icy boy, you know, and you have a thrift organization, an osusu, and for some kind of reason, you seem to become a community, and rightly so, because there are commonalities between you. You work in the same place, you're dealing with the same place, and maybe you even have a rival institution that you're trying to outdo. And most times, because you have failed to realize that at the very best of times, you are only giving 1/3 or less of your daily life to that place. So you go there from 8. If you're a teacher, maybe you leave at 2:30. That's about 6.5 hours. If you are another worker, maybe you are given 10 hours, 9 hours. And you have a life after that. But for some reason, you have poured all your emotions into that place. And then one day you discover that one of the staff had a party and you were not invited. And you hear about it when you go to work on Monday, because naturally Monday morning becomes the recapping day of all that happened over the weekend. And you get upset. The reason you get upset is because you had assumed that because of the time you spend in the office and all the hello, and you meet in the corridor, you drink together at the water fountain, and you buy mburu, akara, and all that, you had assumed that there is a friendship, but there wasn't. There's just a work environment situation. And in your miscalculation and in your misidentification, you had raised that relationship to a level way beyond acquaintance, and you thought they were a friend. And because you thought they were a friend, you expected friendship. But ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the person you think is your friend is really your acquaintance. The problem is that you are investing friendship and somebody is returning and responding acquaintance. You are not on the same level. And so you go to work. What brought you to that employment was a job vacancy that was advertised, and hopefully you applied and ethically you got the job to perform a service that would help in the cumulative growth and the realization of the goals and objectives, at least for that period or for the year or for a long time, of the organization. It was not a job that was coming to see how handsome you are, how pretty you are, how your biceps are good, and how you are good at dancing. Maybe you are good at dancing, but it's a banking job. Maybe you're really good at singing, but it's a biochemical job. You can't sing to test tubes and pipettes. And so you pour a lot of emotion, and you are expecting to be fed from that place. But everybody else there has a life outside of that place where their real emotions are poured into and where they get feeling from. One of the things we can all do to avoid that is to set benchmarks on our friendships. What are your values? What are your friends' values? What are their priorities? What are their objectives? Because most times when people are hurt in friendships, you'll hear a phrase like this: I thought, I expected, She ought to have known. He ought to have known. I have done so much for him. I have done so much for her, with a lot of pent-up emotion and a lot of energy. But my friend, the problem here is that you are assuming something that never existed. You placed somebody in level 4, where to you they are priority, they are primary, they are prerogative, they are prerequisite, they are prominent, and they placed you in level 1, where you are optional, extra, you are an acquaintance. If they don't see you, they don't miss you. If they don't get a call from you, it's not a problem. If you don't invite them to your party, it's not a problem. You are just a work colleague. So we all have to check our levels of friendship so that we protect ourselves. Because friendships always call for vulnerability. And that's what happens to us when we get hurt, because we've opened up, sometimes maybe too fast, too soon, said too much, gave too much, spoke too much, lowered the fence too much. Not because that is bad in itself, but just that you misunderstood. Because true friendships take time. Trusted friendships take time. In any form of a relationship. Husband, wife, fiance, two people doing business, signing checks together or signing checks simply, whatever. And that trust is built upon values. Now, if I have a friend who, maybe I call my friend, or he or she calls me their friend, and I notice, for example, they go to the bank and the cashier gives them extra change or extra money and they don't return the money, and I meet them, or I'm driving in their car, they get to the traffic light, they beat the light, and they're in a certain place, and and somebody said, "Oh, I saw you," and they lie. "No, it wasn't me. I know you think it's me. That man looks like me." Already I am beginning to get worried, because my friend is not a trusted person. He cannot say the truth when it matters. She will not speak the truth when it matters. There, at that point, you start reevaluating your friendships, either by confronting that situation and bringing value systems to the table and bringing expectations to the table, or downscaling that friendship to the level of an acquaintance, and you have committed no crime. As a matter of fact, you have done yourself a world of favor. So friendships happen on value systems. Crooks are friends, thieves are friends, happy people are friends, bitter people are friends, wealthy people are friends, people who are jealous are friends, disappointed people are friends, proud people are friends, because there's a commonality between them. It's their value system. Is it a good value? Well, that's up to you to decide based on what you value as value. But in life, ladies and gentlemen, you need to first of all define. And so the levels rise up, and maybe our collective assignment would be, let's even say there are just 4 levels for the sake of this assignment. And level 1 is acquaintance, and level 4 is trusted, true friendship. You define what level 2 is and level 3 is, and how do you walk that path. It will help you, it will heal your heart, it will take a lot of pain out of your soul. Because sometimes he who expects nothing is never disappointed. Because great expectations sometimes bring great hurts. 0 expectations sometimes brings zero hurt. But great or zero, I think if there is values definition, if there is a place where there is expectations that are properly spelled out, priorities are properly spelled out, and you walk the path, you find that every trusted great friendship where your friend can do anything for you and you can do anything for them, and you can go to bed, they are not going to abuse your family, your children, they will do anything for you. It doesn't matter the money you have or what they have. Their car is your car, your house is their house. You know that you have walked through time. And I'm sure it's not 5 minutes, 4 days, or 1 month. My time is up. I want to stop here. I just want to ask you, who are your friends? Are they really your friends? Are you on the same level? Or are you on level 8 with high energy expectation, whereas they have put you on level 1? Think about this. And until I come your way next week, by the grace of God, may God help us, that will build strong and solid friendships that will build our nation. God bless you and good night.